Hi, I wanted to create a little tutorial video on tips and tricks of how to double the nail polish, how to make the nail polish last at the tips, and how to make it kind of flush and perfect your manicure around the edges. So I made myself a little list of things that I wanted to touch on, and I'm going to use some 2Z examples. I already have a mani on. I'm just going to apply on top for the purpose of this tutorial instead of starting a new manicure from scratch, because I want to hit on a lot of little points. So first thing is doubling layers. So if you have solids or you have certain glitters, if you double them up, you can deepen the color or you can increase the longevity of your set. So for people who are really rough on their nails, who tend to have lots of wearing at the tips, I always recommend doubling up. You can double up a layer or you can add clear as day on top, and both of which help increase the number of days that your mani will last. So the most important thing that you want to do is actually double the layer prior to application. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the same size set. I'm going to peel the clear plastic off. Struggling with that. It's stuck to my finger, static. I'm going to pull the silver tab, and then I'm actually, and I already pulled the plastic off this one, I'm going to place it on top prior to even, oopsies, not so accurate with my placement there. I'm going to place it on top before I apply it to my nail, so that I'm making sure that the set is flush. It's exactly on top of it, so that you don't have two layers that are not actually placed exactly the same. So then at this point, I'm going to peel it off. I'm going to pull the tab off and then apply. One of the important things to note when you're trying to apply and flush and you want it to look really good around the edges. So if you're new to Color Street, it's best if you can place it down the center, push up and pull and kind of rub it out. But if you really are particular about how the edges look, I recommend that you place it kind of on the side so that the application is right where you want it, and then rub it over to the other side, and you can use a rubber cuticle stick to clean up the edges. So now from here, I'm going to perforate. And instead of filing off, so now when you have a double layer, it is kind of thick. It provides a little bit of extra. At this point, I also have 3 on them too. It provides a little bit of extra support to your nail bed. I would not recommend that you file it off right away. You want to have it on the tip of your nail and let it cure that way prior to filing. That'll help increase the longevity as well. Another little tip that I've got for you is wrapping it over. So I'm going to show you with a single what it means to wrap it over and then let it stay. So let's see, this one, I'm going to do it on my middle finger. So I pulled the clear top off, I pulled the tab off, and so I'm going to place it on my nail, like so. Yeah, it doesn't actually really go very well. It doesn't fit very well on that nail. I guess I'll do it on this one. All right. Much better fit for my ring finger than my middle finger. And so what I mean by wrapping it over and tucking, I want you to like wrap it around the edge and tuck it under. Actually tuck the strip and tuck it instead of perforating like I normally show you in all my videos. Tuck it, and then you're gonna perforate it at your skin so that there's a flap underneath the nail. And then again, you're gonna let it cure before you file. I'm going to use the other end on the other side, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you, is that instead of filing or perforating this off, I am literally just going to tuck it. I'm going to tuck it. I'm going to leave the excess. and I'm going to let it cure that way. Basically wrapping it around the nail, and then I'm going to let it cure that way before I perforate. Another kind of important thing to know about like chunky glitters in particular, this includes Tokyo lights, which is what I'm applying. And then it also can include like Capitol Hill, Mardi Gras, which is retired now. I think Holidays is going to be like this too because it's got the chunky glitter. When you get to the tip of your finger and you're going to try and perforate it off, you're going to try and tuck it under. If there's any glitter that looks like it's hanging out over the tip of your nail, instead of using a file or picking at it and rubbing it off, I would recommend that you use nail clippers. So you're going to take nail clippers. I'm going to pull mine out. They are somewhere in here. You're going to take nail clippers, and actually I'm just going to, here, I'm going to use the end of this one and just kind of demonstrate. Throw it on a nail. You know what, it might not stick because I had it sitting out for probably too long without being on a package. So normally I would perforate around the edge. And there's like, say, example here actually is perfect. There is some chunks of glitter at the tip. So instead of filing, I'm going to use my nail clippers and get really close to the nail and trim the glitter instead. And that will prevent any like big glitter chunks from getting stuck, cracking, or being an issue at the tip of the nail. So you can clip them instead of filing. And then the last thing I kind of wanted to mention is that when you do like a single set, for example, I always use my rubber cuticle pusher. Use my rubber cuticle pusher to make sure that the edges are nice and clean. If there's any leftover, let's actually apply this one to one of my smaller nails. And you can see that there will be some hanging over the edge. So there's some extra on the edge here. I'm going to use my cuticle pusher to crease that edge. And then I use the tip to perforate it off, and that's how you get a really nice clean edge. I'm just going to wrap that around. And tuck it underneath. See, I got a little bit on my cuticle there, and perfect. The other thing I wanted to mention is that if you have a flat or narrow nail bed, you can, I never recommend just pulling on them, but you can wiggle them a little bit and stretch them. You can shape them to your nail. And so that's one of the really awesome things. I think glitters are a little bit better at being stretchy. They're a little bit more forgiving than some of the solids. Some of the solids may rip if you do this and you're kind of rough with them. The solids may rip like paper. The glitters and solids both, though, you can wiggle nicely and stretch them to the shape of your nail. So when you're practicing with your color street, make sure you try them out. You experiment a little bit and know how much give they've got before applying them, and then that can help you too in perfecting your application and making those edges look really nice. So I hope that this video was kind of a catch-all and helped you with some tips and tricks on how to have a successful and beautiful long-lasting manicure. What I would do with this one, where I had tucked the polish underneath the nail, is that I would let it sit for as long as possible. It could be the night, it could be up until morning time, and then file very gently off. That will make sure that it's nice and cured around the edges very well. And then it'll prevent it too from shrinking from the tip when it dries. Every now and then you'll see and you'll notice that it may shrink, they may shrink up just a little bit upon that extra 5% drying. Remember, they're 100% nail polish, 95% dried. So they do require a 15 to 30 minute cure time. In that cure time, they might shrink just slightly coming up from a cuticle base or coming from the tip of the nail. And so wrapping it over the tip and having it cure while wrapped will help prevent that from happening. Doubling up the layers will help decrease wear at the tips. I'd always recommend that you double them up prior to application. That's how you're going to get that sheer edge. You're going to double them up and then they're going to be flush upon application. And then use clippers for chunk glitter. And you can stretch them to help them fit your cuticle base, or if you've got wider nail beds. Or if you've got a little itty bitty gap, if the strip's just slightly too small, you can stretch them to fit your nail bed. I hope those tips and tricks were helpful. Thanks.